in about another month or so. But yeah, yeah, the name, but the name, okay, the name emphasized the king's divine legitimacy, symbolizing his unquestioned right to rule both lands. Okay, now here's some examples. We got some examples, y'all. We're gonna break this down. We got some examples of the Insubiti names. Okay, now we're gonna break this down. All right. This is, of course, our main character once again, Queen Sobek Neferu. Her first name, her Horus name, at the very top, is Merit Ra. Okay, beloved of Ra. But now, as we go on, I'm starting to notice this imagery here a lot. Okay, you guys are very intelligent. You guys seen this before, but as we go further back into the old kingdom, before that, we will see this imagery, the Haru and these building gates, the palace gates right there. There's something about that. Okay. Now, the Insubiti name, Set Sekem Nepatawi, we talked about that earlier. The third line, the golden Haru name, okay, her eternal name, it's called Jet Kau. Jet Kau, established crowns. Of the crowns basically means that I was born into this. Okay, I was born into royalty. We talked about her parentage in the last episode. Check it out. The throne name Sebek Ka-Ra. Sebek is the soul of Ra. The birth name Neferu Sebek. This is the name that her mother gave her. Okay, we found out who her mother was too, y'all. Neferu Sebek Ra. Okay, the beauty of Sebek and Ra. Okay, now how about this one though? Queen Hatshepsut. Okay, Queen Hatshepsut. So we did Sebek Neferu. Queen Hatshepsut. Her throne name. Okay, her throne name. This is on the left right here, and it's, as you can see, it is in the shim, right? Is that basically that's eternal, right? Her throne name is Ma'at Kara, the true one, or the justice of the Ka, or soul of Ra, or God. So the true one, the justice, balance of the spirit of God. Okay, so she's basically embodying that. Okay, her birth name, the birth name that her mother gave her. Okay, it is Kemet Amun Hatshepsut. Okay, Kemet Amun Hatshepsut. United, this is on the right side, united with Amun, foremost of noble ladies. Now, remember, whenever you see this this little bowl shape here and those three lines, that basically means that she is the ruler over everybody. Okay. Now, when we broke down the priesthood, one of the priests had the bowl, but one line that basically indicates that you're only over the priest, bro. You're not over us, right? So you see that bowl with three lines. You see the line there, which is another representation of Amun, and so and you see that. So when she was born into this, she was born as a representation of that. And also, we also discussed that she really looked up to Sebek Neferu and her family. Get this though, this was 350 years apart, and Queen Hatshepsut revered Sebek Neferu. Okay, she really, even in death, she tried to align herself with her ideals. All right. Now, and speaking of that, we're going to talk about the Majestic Gateway, Hatshepsut's temple, the Majestic Gateway up to the gods and the afterlife. We're going to get into that. We're going to break down the magnificent Jesseru. We are going to break this temple down. Okay, stay tuned for that. We're going to break that down. We're going to have a discussion about that, and because it's a lot to unpack. Okay, now the funny part is, this is her mortuary temple, and this is located not far from some of the original pharaohs where they was laid to rest also. But notice the temple of Amentuhotep, or Tutmosis the third, is right next to it. That's crazy. He tried so hard to disassociate himself from her, but towards the end, he built structures right next to hers. I think there was kind of some friction. I think there was some love-hate relationship or whatever between him and his stepmother, because that was his stepmother. And I learned that she did not have she didn't have any children. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna break this down here, and we're gonna talk about the some of the pyramid texts some more, and the Book of Gates some more, because all these things were some sort of representation of what they were reading and seeing. All right. Now, so like I said, I didn't think she had children of her own. Let me know if she did though. If she had children of her own, comment below. I don't think she did. I don't think she had any children. And that's pretty interesting. One thing about it, when you are in these dynasties, we have to understand that dynasties aren't just people who were in direct lineage or in the direct bloodline, but they had the same view, the same ideals, the same perspective as their predecessors. So that can be a dynasty also. Okay, Tutmosis the third. I had to go and get him. I had to go and get him. Now, his Horus name, Horus name is the oldest form of a pharaoh. The falcon representing Horus is perched on the palace facade. So this the Horus name, you will see that quite a few times before they even get into their name. And you will see the Horus name. It's like a flag. Like if a royal person went from town to town, all of a sudden you'll see signs that somebody important is there. The entourage is larger or whatever, but there are some signs, and this was their sign here. Horus right there, and then the palace facade. It says Ka Nakat Ka Im Waset. Okay, Ka Nakat Ka Kaha Im Waset. Okay, the strong bull arising in Thebes. Waset, Thebes. That's why you hear me interchange the word Thebes to Waset. Strong bull that basically represents masculinity, strength, and power. Okay, his Nebatawi Insibiti name was Wa Insiut Mi Ra Im Pet. Basically, in other words, enduring of kingship like Ra in heaven. He said, say all this, say this here. All right, the enduring kingship like God in heaven, that kind of thing. But of course, all men must go, right? But yeah, so that's the throne name and the Insibiti name, all right? Now, here it is, the throne name, okay? I'm sorry, Horus name, Insibiti name. Throne name announced at the coronation and always written in a shin, and it is Men Kefer Ra, okay? Or Zipper Ra, depends on the dialect, right? Men Kefer Ra, okay? Lasting is the manifestation or creation of Ra or God, right? So you see the circle with the dot, that's Ra. The Zephyr. We see these beetles all the time too. In Texas, these are June bugs. They're a form of a beetle. I'd say I see them all the time. Zephyr, men. You see all these lines. That means a long time, right? Birth name. This is the name that his mother and father gave him. Birth name Jehuti Mesu. Jehuti Mesu. Taught or Tahut. Wisdom is born. Okay, wisdom born. I heard that phrase before. Okay, we're gonna get to that in a second. Jehuti Mesu. Okay, thought Jehuti Mesu, born or created, right? Yeah, I heard it before. Wisdom born. I heard it from like the 5% Nation, where they say, shout out to the 5% Nation. They would say the supreme alphabet, and one of they'll say wisdom born. There it is. Now, King Tut. Don't forget to hit the like button. Here we go. King Tut. Now, his Horus name, okay, is Ka Nakat Tut Mesu. Tut Mesu. The strong bull pleasing of or at birth. Okay. And as you can see, you see the falcon there, you see the palace facade there, right? This is one of the oldest forms of their names, right? In Biti name, Neferhepu Sekere Tawi. Neferhepu Sekere Tawi, one of the perfect laws who pacifies the two lands. Okay, he was born into a time where Egypt as a nation was established. They were the world power, right? They were they had the influence. So that was his Nebatawi name. His throne name, okay, Neb Keferah, Neb Zephirah, Neb Keferah, Lord in the forms of Ra, or Lord created This king was created by God. Okay, Neb-Kefarah. Okay, Neb-Kefarah. Okay, the birth name Tutankhamun, the living image of Amun. Shout out to Pharaoh SE. Shout out to their website. It's pretty cool. They break those names down good. They really do. Shout out to them. If you want to check them out, check them out. But yeah, but this you'll see his name like this also. I've seen this more often than the other way, but I've seen it like this. All right. Now, yeah, we're gonna get into that. The DNA dynasties and deception. Since we're talking about King Tut and them, we're gonna talk about King Tut and them. Then DNA dynasties and deception. The hunt for the true mother of King Tut. Because bro, Nefertiti ain't his mama. We're gonna talk about this right before Mother's Day, too. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Yeah, DNA dynasties and deception. The hunt for the true mother of King Tut. And so yeah, man. All right. So the uraeus and the royal crown. The uraeus, the sacred cobra representing Wadjet, became an essential part of the pharaoh's crown. It was believed to offer magical protection, spitting fire on the enemies, and ensuring victory in battle. In depictions of Pharaoh, Nekhbet is often shown alongside his Wadjet, extending the shin ring of eternity over the king's head. May you rule forever, kind of thing, reinforcing his divine right to rule. Right now, the role of the two ladies at coronation. I told you we're going to talk about coronation. Coronation rituals, priests invoke the two ladies to bless the new pharaoh, symbolizing the transfer of divine power. Also, it's for battlefield protection because the kings went out there to throw hands. Okay, they were serious about that. All right, and so the Egyptian warriors believed the Wadjet would blind and strike down their enemies, while Nekhbet ensured victory and divine favor. All right, and so we talked about the queens of the Nile and legendary women who ruled ancient Egypt and Nubia. We talked about how Nekhbet and Wadjet influenced them and legitimized their role as rulers of Egypt. Now, but since we talked about the top 5 queens, should we talk about the top 5 priestess? So if you talked about the queens now, should we talk about the priestess? Subscribe and comment below. Let me know. All right, hit the like button. Let me know. Should we talk about my top 5 priestess of Kemet? All right, because they had an important role also. What do you think? Now, so we talked about the origins and mythological significance, the two ladies and the pharaoh, sacred symbols, and we got a bonus. Yeah, here comes the bonus. We got a bonus, and I'm checking roll too. So sacred symbols and temples and lasting influence. But before we get into it, before we get into the symbolism and imagery and temples and all that stuff, we got to review. According to the video, The Unknown Daughter of Pharaoh, Blood Feud, and the Rise of a Common Prince, what was the name of the unknown daughter? Nefertari, Neferuptah, Isis, Hathor. If the actual answer is Neferuptah, that was the unknown daughter. And we had a discussion about this unknown daughter. We actually got into some detail about it. And if you got it correct, you got an A for the day. You see what I'm saying? You got an A for the day. But get this. One thing I learned, that Sebek Neferu was not intended to be the ruler of Egypt. Okay, and it was Neferuptah, and we got into detail about that, but we're not done. All right. Now, because we got some other issues to address, because that random name Amenemhat IV, and they had some issues. These siblings had issues, and it boiled over into some regicide. That means royalty killing each other, a blood feud, and all that kind of stuff. It got different in Kemet. All right. And the thing is, I believe what was going on in the royal court, in the palace of Kemet, that was going on in the dynasties overall. In that particular dynasty, it was very unstable, and they was moving unstable. They was moving like that. So we're gonna talk about that in this coming weeks. We're gonna talk about regicide and all that. And so there was a question: if there were 8 rulers, how was Sobekneferu the seventh and final? Okay, shout out to T Garner 567. What happened is there was multiple reasons. The line of succession was one of them. The line of succession was one issue, and Amenemhat the fourth. He was a random. He was not really. He wasn't born into that. So we'll go into detail next time. But yeah, we're gonna talk about regicide, and we're gonna go further to this question also. All right. Now, but that's in another week or so. Now, sacred symbols, temples, and lasting influence. All right. Now, Nekhbet temple in Nekheb, one of Egypt's oldest temples, where priests conducted rituals to bless the pharaoh and the kingdom. So Nekhbet, she had a temple in El Khab, right? And the Wadjet temple in per-wadjet or Budo. That's a sacred site where Wadjet's oracles guided rulers in decision making and foretold the fate of Egypt. Did you know that Nekhbet and Wadjet had temples? I didn't know that. That's new to me. That's new to me. I didn't know that. It's pretty cool. Now, iconography. Okay, the royal tombs, Nekhbet and Wadjet, were depicted guarding the burial chambers, ensuring the pharaoh's safe passage to the Akhet, to the afterlife, right? Now, amulets and seals, many officials and priests carried amulets bearing the two ladies, believing they would provide divine protection and wisdom. Despite foreign invasion and dynastic changes, the legacy of the two ladies endured. Even like during the Greco-Roman period, the Wadjet symbol was still used, as you see, because Cleopatra wore it. She had it on. You know, so they still use it in religious ceremonies and art. Nekhbet's vulture motif influenced later depictions of protective mother goddess such as Aset and Mu'ut. Right now, here's some images. Now, I told you I was going to kind of lean into this one. Now, I'm gonna say this. All right, Kemetic culture is African culture. This sister here is in Kenya down there. Okay, and guess what she have on? Very similar to what they had in Kemet, right? Matter of fact, I didn't see this, but look at the collar. Collar's the same. Okay, very similar. Not the exact same for the loud ones in the back. They're not the exact same. All right, but similar, right? Here's another one. Hairstyle. Let's go. Now, I don't see nobody north of the Nile Delta with hairstyles like this. I'm saying. So Heteru with the two braids, with the bust down like that, the two braids like that. You don't see that in the north. You don't see that in Greece or Rome or Mesopotamia. You only see that in the south. All right. like comment below. If you seen this hairstyle like this, okay, in the Mediterranean area or in Mesopotamia, go ahead and comment that below. Go and let me know. Because I'm on that kind of time and I had a lot of coffee. Understand? Let's go. How about this? Let's go. The side locks that children wore. These Sudanese and Ethiopian children have the side lock, and you see Ramses as a child having it on. And I think this is another king, but most of the time you see Ramses as a child having it on. So this was an African thing. Kemetic culture, Egyptian culture is a African culture. The culture came from where? From the south, from the mountains of the moon, from Uganda, okay, from Kenya to Ethiopia, then went up north, right? So we're not gonna play those games saying that Egypt was isolated like that. No. You see it even in their hair. They had Afro picks and Afro combs and whatnot. What are we talking about here? Right? So, and we got a bonus. Let's get it. Bonus. The crowns of ancient Egypt. Since we're talking about royalty, since we're talking about the crowns and everything, the symbolism that was on the crown. Let's talk about the crowns themselves. Let's get it. Let's get it. All right. the white crown, the headjet, okay, is normally found in Upper Egypt, which is in the south. Okay, that is in the south. Aswan on down into Sudan, right? It's shaped tall, it's conical white crown. Symbolism is rule over Upper Egypt. The white represented purity and authority. Okay, and the next root that was linked to it was Nekhbet, the vulture goddess of Upper Egypt. It was worn by the kings of Upper Egypt or pharaohs, emphasizing control over the south. Okay, and so you see I'm in a hotel right there on the we have I'm in a hat right on the I'm sorry which got my notes right. Okay, I'm in hotel is on the left and I'm in a hat is on the right. Okay, all right. So, but now the white crown was seen on the Narmer palette. Okay, thousands of years before these guys got there. Okay, King Narmer, he had it on. Okay, we're gonna break this down. See, the white crown was worn by kings before the pharaohs. Okay, this was an established African custom. This was an ancient culture. Okay, we're gonna break this down soon, but as you can see, we see the uniter of the two lands there. We have Narmer or Menes, and he has the white crown on his head. But also, what else do you see on here? What else do you see on here? We see Heru. And who else do you see on here? Heteru. This Kemetic culture was an African culture, and it was established eons before Kemet was united. So, and we'll break this down a little bit further in the coming weeks. But yeah, you see his mace, his little war hammer. He about to give somebody that work. About to give him that permanent relaxation. He said, "You crossed the line, boy." So look at it. This is another illustration of the Narmer palette, and also he has the oxtail right there. And we mentioned in the king's names the strong bull representing strength and power, right? And so we're going to talk about that. Who's this guy right here with the star above his head? All right, let's go. And we also see these banners here. Okay, these individuals holding up the banners. Okay, yeah, this has been going on for a long time, right? And get this. This is what I said for a long time. The Qustul Incense. We do not know technically. We don't know who this individual is, but we do know that there's some ships here. Okay, we see the white crown and we see the crook and flail in his hand. This is before the first dynasty. Okay, this is an incense burner. It's like a small little cup there. Okay, and guess who's next to him above him? That's a falcon. That's Heru. Okay, and we see the palace right there, right? We see the palace. Where do we see that? We've seen that before. We've seen that in some of the king's names, right? Let me see if I can get back to it real quick. Just had it. Hold on, y'all. We saw it in the king's name. So I'm trying to get to the slide, but it's not letting me go back to it. But we saw it in the king's names where you had the great palace next to it. You saw it in their names. Let me see, just like this one. Boom, there it is. Like you see the palace. You see Heru right there. This was going on for a century. This was going on for a very long time. All right. So, all right. Now, the red crown. Okay, we're gonna talk about this coming up too. We're not done with this. We're not done with it. Let's go. The red crown Gesseret, that represented Lower Egypt. That is in the Nile Delta. Flat top with a tall back and cord extension. The symbolized ruler of a Lower Egypt. They represented agriculture. It represented order. The deity was, of course, Wadjet, the cobra goddess, worn by kings, emphasizing control in the Nile Delta. Okay, example was also in the Narmer palette. Okay, right there. You see the example there, but also we see our brother Mentuhotep II. Now, Mentuhotep II, if they want to make him lighter, they would have, because obviously his whole outfit was white. Said what it said, and look at this face right there. Okay, this looks like the high tops back in the 90s, what they used to wear back in the 90s. So, but yeah, the Gesseret is a very ancient symbol, possibly one of the oldest known crown forms in Egyptian art. The double crown, the Piscanet, Sekhemeti, Sekhemeti, the double crown. It's a combination of Wadjet, the white crown, and Gesseret, a merged crown with the white upper cone and the red curl base. Symbolism, it shows that he unified Upper and Lower Egypt, shows total sovereignty and divine kingship. The deity, the associated to it was, of course, the Wadjet and Nekhbet, the two ladies. It was worn by all the pharaohs after Narmer, after the Scorpion King, after the kings before the pharaohs. Is usually in official imagery. Examples commonly worn in New Kingdom. Right here we have Amenhotep III. This is King Tut's grandfather, Amenhotep III. Okay, so and he also has Wadjet on his forehead, right? So this is representing him being the ruler, the Nepatawi, the ruler of the two lands, right? The blue crown, the Kapresh, the blue crown. This was seen like in the New Kingdom, though. You've seen the Kapresh or the blue crown in the New Kingdom, and onward, like the 18 dynasties and out, right? Blue, rounded helmet-like crown with uraeus, often decorated with golden disc and everything. It showed military leadership, protection, divine kingship in action. It was worn by pharaohs in battle or during festivals and rituals, and it was a symbol of the living king, right? It was often worn by King Tut. You've seen him, Ramses II, and Akhenaten, right? So this was called the war crown, but nobody, for some reason, nobody has seen these. Nobody has found these crowns. Nobody has seen, they have the bodies there, they have the gold and silver and all that, but none of these have been found. Do you think they were hairstyles? Subscribe and comment below. Do you think, because there's some brothers up south that say something different. Do you think they're hairstyles? That's the reason why they probably couldn't find these crowns here. They were really literally on their crown. They had it on their head. Right? What do you think? Subscribe and comment below. The Nemes crown. Okay. This was a striped cloth. They call it a cloth headdress, not a crown per se. They say it's a cloth headdress. That's what they say. But what I'm seeing something different. But they say something different. I'm seeing something different. All right. We're gonna lean into that in a second. But it was the Nemes crown, draped cloth with lappets over the shoulders, uraeus of the center, symbolism of divine kingship, timeless authority, solar protection. They didn't need protection from the sun, bro. This is what some people are saying. This is what some scholars are saying. It was for solar protection. Black people did not need solar protection. All right. So it was associated both in life and death, used in mummification masks, worn by most pharaohs, especially in statues and sarcophagi. The mask of Tutankhamun was famously worn. But now, get this. This brother here is from Kenya. Okay. This brother here is from Kenya. And as you can see, how his hair is flowing downward, very similar to the Egyptian crown here. Now, not only that, his facial features, his facial features in Kenya. And this is, I think it's Menkara. I think Menkara. This is the old kingdom right there. So yeah, I'm sorry, not Menkara. It's Kafari. The second, he built the second pyramid. This guy from Kenya, and this is Kafari. Kind of look alike. You can disagree or whatever, but that's what that is. But similar facial features. They saying it is a cloth. I'm seeing hair. you know, because we a lot of they didn't find them. None of these crowns are found, but we see hairstyles like this all up and through Africa. All right, let's go. The Atef crown. Okay, the white headjet flanked with ostrich feathers, sometimes on a sun disk, symbolism, divine kinship, spiritual power, and it's normally you normally see that with Osiris. Okay, the ruler of the underworld or the ancestral plane. It was worn by Osiris in religious art and occasionally by living kings during ritual. Seen in funerary depictions or festival scenes like the Heb-Sed festival. Okay, so the Atef crown connects the pharaoh to the divine cycle of death and rebirth. Okay, it was designed to maintain cosmic order. Right now, the Hanem crown. The Hanem crown is the triple Atef-like structure with horns, urae, and often sun disk or feathers. Right, that is the Hanem crown. All right, and so that dealing with that, it shows grand authority, celestial power, royal divinity, or festival triumph, right? Worn by kings during major festivals, ceremonial events. For example, King Tut wore it, and Apendamak, the Nubian line that Taru wore it. Okay. Hanem means to shout, to roar, to show a display of power. Speaking of Apendamak and speaking of Nubia, next week we're going to talk about. Y'all asked for it, y'all. Y'all did. We'll go live and have this discussion, talking about the symbolism of the Lion Temple of Naka. We're gonna talk about the esoteric role of Apendamak in Kushite theology. Yeah, we're gonna be. At first, I was trying my best to just keep things surface and keep things right here. But we're getting to the point where we're getting some shovels and we digging deeper into the content, digging deeper into the information. So yeah, next week we're gonna talk about the symbolism of the Lion Temple of Naka, the esoteric role of Apendamak, the Kushite practice of astrology, alchemy, the initiation, and cosmic law. Yeah, y'all asked for it. We finna go on and get it. All right, so this is another reason why we're going to talk about Sudan, because somebody had something to say about this picture. Somebody was saying that had some sideways to say, and they were saying something like these people weren't from Ethiopia, they were Eritrean or Sudan, whatever. Bro, yeah, somebody had something to say about this picture right here. And as you notice, we have almost Nefertari in between these two sisters right here. And by the way, these two sisters are from Ethiopia and Sudan. Told you, Kemetic culture is African culture. But yeah, we're gonna have this conversation next week. I'm excited about it. Now, that's the topic. Thrones next week. Thrones of fire and temples of light. The Kandeki, the Kandik queens, and esoteric knowledge of ancient Kush. That's next week. Man.